Hare Krishna. Let's start with Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jayo Girivaradari, Jayo Girivaradari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jayo Girivaradari, Jayo Girivaradari, Yashodanandana Vajajanarandana, Shodanandana Vajajanarandana, Yamunatira Vanachari, Munatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradari, Jaya Girivaradari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradari, Jaya Girivaradari, Yashodanandana Vajajanarandana, Yashodanandana Vajajanarandana, Munatira Vanachari, Munatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradari, Jaya Girivaradari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradari, Jaya Girivaradari, Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana, Yamunatira Vanachari, Natira Vanachari, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Gaura Nitai ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Let's offer our prayers to our spiritual master and offer Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Takshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today we'll be discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, and it is called The Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. And before we start off, we'd like to offer prayers to Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Mande Shri Gurum Dinatarnam Paramanandam Shri Chaitanya Ishvara Om Tat Sat. So, today's chapter being scheduled incarnations. Yesterday we saw about Narada and Brahma's conversations on the various angas or organs of the Virat Rupa, and Lord Brahma was answering the questions raised by Narad Muni. So there were 6 or more questions that Narad Muni asked, and Brahma was actually answering one by one. We saw first 3 questions were answered in chapter 5, and then the other 3 questions were answered in chapter 6. So from the last part of yesterday, we saw that Brahma was going to discuss about the incarnations of the Lord with Narada. So we can see one by one about what Brahmaji is going to explain Narada. So it's basically, when we speak about incarnations or avatars, we can classify, not us, but it's generally classified into 6 types of avatars. The first on our list is Purusha avatars, and then we have the Leela avatars, then we have Guna avatars, then we have the Manvantara avatars, and then the Yuga avatars, and then the Satyavesha avatars. So first, before we get into understanding what each avatar had descended for, we have to understand what are the classifications, and when is it called avatar? Basically, when the Lord descends from his spiritual world to the material world, that's when we call him as avatars. And basically, when it is Purusha avatar, when it comes to Purusha avatars, we know it is 3 Vishnus, and the first is Karnadaksha Vishnu or Mahavishnu. And where is Karnadaksha Vishnu? He is lying down in the causal ocean, and he creates material universes just with a glance on the Pradhana and the Tattva, Mahatattva. So just by his glance, lying down in the causal ocean, Karnadaksha Vishnu creates material universes. And the second on our list is the Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Garbhodaksha Vishnu, he is lying in the universal ocean, and he enters each and every universe. And from him, he actually created the stem of the lotus flower from his navel, and from where Lord Brahma was born. And we know that how Lord Brahma, after being created, he created this universe. And third on our list is Kshirodaksha Vishnu. Kshirodaksha Vishnu, he is lying on the ocean milk within the universe, ocean of milk within the universe. He is also called the Paramatma form, or the super soul residing in each and every one's heart. And he is also an incarnation of the mode of goodness. So they are the Purusha avatars. And going to Leela avatars, so we see that Krishna incarnates from time to time for what? To protect the devotees and to annihilate the miscreants and to re-establish the religious principles, right? So how many avatars do we know of? The popular avatars are the Dasa avatars. Apart from that, there are 12 more avatars. So in total, we can see that there are 22 Leela avatars, or we can say 24 Leela avatars. Avatars are n number, but Leela avatars which we know of, I just quickly read. So it starts with Sanat Kumaras, who are 4 of them, and then Varaha, Narada, Nara and Narayana, Sage Kapila, Dattraya, Yagna, Rishabhadeva, King Prithu, Matsya, Kurma, Dhanavantri, Mohini, Narasimha, Vamana, Parshurama, Vyasa, Rama, Balarama, and Krishna, Buddha, Kalki. So there are 22 of them, and you can see that there are twins also, and there are 4 Kumaras also. So like that, we have Leela avatars. And even just by meditating on the names of the Lord, we get the benefit of remembering the Lord and his pastimes. And next comes the Guna avatars. Speaking of Guna avatars, we remember the gunas, the modes of material nature. The modes are the goodness, passion, and ignorance. The avatar that denotes the mode of goodness is Vishnu himself, and he takes care of the maintenance of the universe. And the avatar that comes to the mind when we deal with the mode of passion is Lord Brahma himself, who creates these universes. And the avatar who is in the mode of ignorance and who does the annihilation of the universe is Lord Shiva. So like that, there are Guna avatars also. After that comes the Manvantara avatars. Who are these Manvantara avatars? So basically, in one day of Brahma, there is 1,000 Chaturyugas, which is divided into 14 parts or 14 periods. In each period, we have a Manu. And during the reign of a Manu, if an avatar comes, he is called as Manvantar avatar. And Manu is considered as the father of our mankind, and the period in which an avatar comes in the time of a Manu is called as Manvantara avatar. The names of them are Yagna, Vibhu, Satyasena, Hari, Vaikunta, Ajita, Sarvabhauma, Rishabha, Vivaksena, Dharma, Sudhama, Yogeshwara, and Brihadbanu. Yuga avatars. So in every yuga, the avatar comes in varied colors. That is, his body is colored in different colors. It could be white, it could be red, it could be black, or it could be yellow. So during the Satya Yuga, the avatar of Kadama Muni came to establish that meditation as a process of self-realization. And during Treta Yuga, Lord Brahma came in the red colored avatar to establish fire sacrifice as a process of self-realization. During Dwapara Yuga, Krishna came in the form of dark avatar to establish the temple worship as a form of self-realization. And during the Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes in yellow color to establish the chanting of the holy names as a process of self-realization. Shaktivesha avatars. Next in our list is Shaktivesha avatars. They are Shakti Avesha avatars. Basically, they are incarnations, and they are empowered incarnations with what? Power. They are empowered with the power to do a specific function. Hence why they are called as Shaktavesha avatars. And Shakshat, direct avatar, means the expansion of Lord himself to display a particular opulence. And when it comes to Avesha, indirect avatar, it is again Krishna empowering a devotee, a human being, and sent him to a material universe to perform certain tasks. When you speak about direct avatars, we can see that they are Brahma, four Kumaras, Narada. So, what was Brahma's opulence? He had the creative power to create stuff, and four Kumaras were opulent in knowledge, and Narada was opulent in his devotional service, and Parshurama was eradicating the demons, the Kshatriyas, who were actually misguided. Vyasadeva, he was opulent with his Vedas, and he had written all the Vedas and scriptures. So they were all empowered. And some great acharyas of the Vedic were also, who had come in our disciplic section, were also empowered by Krishna to do a particular type of task. And in that lines, we have our Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, who had actually established the Krishna consciousness around the world. So in that ways, we see that there are so many forms of avatars, and as we know, there are innumerable number of avatars are there. And the other general form of avatars which we generally speak about is the Srimad Bhagavatam, the literary form of avatar, and other one could be the Archa Vigraha for Archa avatar of Krishna. We saw that literary avatar of Krishna is Srimad Bhagavatam. The Archa avatar of Krishna is the Vigraha or the deity of Krishna in any temple, and Nama avatar of Krishna is Krishna's name himself, which we chant day in and day out. So there is no difference between Krishna and his names. So chanting of the holy name is like calling out for Krishna himself. So like this, we have now understood what are the different types of avatars. And so Brahma explains each of these avatars and the reason for their descent to Lord Narada. Uh, so he starts with Varaha avatar. So Lord Brahma says this unlimitedly powerful Lord descends to this material universe in the form of a boar. So why did he have to come in the form of a boar? It is to rescue the planet Earth, which had actually fallen down or dropped into the great ocean called Garbhodaka Ocean. Usually, the planets stay in their own orbits or they stay in the air because of the constituents of the universe themselves. But in some cases, just like when people start misusing their power to extract something off from the planet, just like how we see that a lot of drilling for oil is been happening these days to get oil from the earth. Prabhupada says that these could, so even during those times of Hiranyaksha, they used to extract gold, it seems. So because of that irreligious or the activities which are not in line with the dharma, the planet wouldn't stay on its position but actually fell down into the Garbhodaksha ocean. So that time the Lord appeared in the boar form and with a specialized tusk to pick up this earth from the ocean and to place it in its correct form. And what he also did was he saved the um, universe from drowning into the Garbhodaksha ocean, and he also killed the first demon Hiranyaksha with his hands and then pierced with his tusk, is what acharyas say. It's not straight away with the tusk that he was killed, but first with his hands and then with his tusk, it seems. And second, Brahmaji explains about the Prajapati who first begot Suyajna in his womb of his wife, and that Suyajna begot demigods, headed by Suyama, again in the womb of his wife Dakshina. So when Suyajna was Indra, he actually diminished a great number of miseries in all the three worlds, upper, lower, and middle lokas. So by diminishing the miseries of the worlds, miseries of the universe, he was called as Hari. So from each of this pastime, what we can see is that there is a purpose of every incarnation. There is a purpose in Lord's descent. Basically, when some thing or some planet is in trouble, or when devotees are in trouble, or to re-establish the religious principles, God descends. So we have to keep in mind that if there is somebody sincerely calling off for the Lord, Lord definitely appears, and we will, in the forthcoming verses, we will see that how Lord appears and protects his devotees. So the Lord then appeared as, Brahmaji explains how Lord appears as Kapila incarnation. He, being the son of Prajapati Brahmana Kadama and his wife Devahuti, he was born along with his 9 sisters. And what did Lord Kapila or Sage Kapila do? He actually instructed the process of self-realization to his mother, and just in a lifetime, his mother was fully cleansed of the mud of this material modes and achieved liberation. So that is based on the path of Lord Kapila. Um, Next in our list is Dattatreya. So there was a sage called Atri, and he prayed for an offspring. And the Lord, being pleased by his prayers, gave himself to the sage as his son. So basically, the sage was a pure devotee who wanted to serve the Lord very nicely. So, in order for giving devotees an opportunity to serve him, to serve the Supreme Lord, the Lord gives himself and he comes in the form of son. So, since the lords are innumerable in number, in the sense the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable in number, the many pure devotees also get an opportunity to serve the Lord in many different ways. And here the position of the sage Atri is that he's the father of the Lord, and being the son gets an opportunity to ask the father for this and that and many things. So the sage happily could serve the Lord, who is the son, and they exchange this Vatsalya Rasa um, to the best degree possible, and they both are satisfied with the relationship. And that is why he was called as Datta, and because he has given himself to sage Atri, right? So that's why. And by Dattatreya, that they some of the people in the Yadu and the Hayayas were also purified, and they obtained material and spiritual blessings. The next is the four Kumaras. The four Kumaras. So what happened? Brahma now explains how the four Kumaras were born. So it is what he mentions to Narada is that when he went to create different planetary systems, he had to undergo severe austerities and penances. So during that process, the Lord was very pleased with him, and he gave or he incarnated himself into four sanas: Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, and Sanatana were four people. And in the whatever spiritual truth was devastated in the previous creations were re-established by the four sanas, it seems. So it's very nicely explained by these four sanas, and the great sages could easily perceive it. Next is on our list is Nara and Narayana. So, in order to personally exhibit the austerity and penance, the Lord himself appeared as twin son as Nara and Narayana in the womb of Murti, the wife of the Dharma and the daughter of Daksha. So, when they were Nara and Narayana, many celestial beauties or the companions of Cupids would come and attract the Lord, and they would try to break his vows, it seems. But were they successful? No, they were not successful. Why? Because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He would be able to create many such celestial beauties. It is like a confectioner who always makes sweets would never like to have his sweets, or he would not be interested in sweets. So basically, when the Lord himself can make so many beautiful cupids, why would he get attracted to such cupids? So it was more of a distaste for him. Speaking about the Lord's incarnation, the Lord Brahma also says, great stalwarts like Shiva can by their wrathful glances overcome lust and vanquish them. Yet they cannot be free from the overwhelming effects of the wrath. But Vishnu is never gets any kind of wrath, or he is not attached to lust, because he is above all these emotions. And so how can lust take shelter in his mind is a question that Brahma poses to Narada. When he comes as Prishnigarbha, when does he come as Prishnigarbha? So we know that um, being insulted by the sharp words of a co-wife of a king, when his stepson sat on her husband's lap. Can we remember this story or the pastime? Yes, it was Dhruva who actually sat on his father, and his stepmother couldn't stand it, and she insisted and dragged him to come out of his lap, and she threw him away. This act really pierced this little kid's heart, and he went crying to his mother, asking, "What is this injustice happening? Why can't I sit on my dad's lap? This is such a big mistake that I had committed, that the stepmother is not allowing me to sit on dad's lap. What can I do? What to sit on dad's lap? How can I get the kingdom?" Is what he questioned his mom. His mom also didn't know the answer. She said, "Only the Lord could save you, son." Uh, then Dhruva stuck to the fact, and he was like, "So where can I find Lord?" And his mom, um, she simply said, like, "I have heard that the great sages in the dense forest could actually see the Lord, it seems." Dhruva took it very seriously. He went to the forest. He tried to meditate on the Lord. And knowing Dhruva, actually the Lord sends his dear friend Narada and asks him to teach the necessary mantras, so he can actually learn the meditation or the techniques to understand Lord and come to him. So that's when Lord or Narada actually taught him the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So that mantra he was asked to uh, repeat and keep meditating on the Lord. And while Dhruva took it to heart, and he persistently, continuously called out the Lord's names, and he got the Lord's attention, and Lord, as Prishnigarbha, incarnated to save this little child. He incarnated with 4 hands, and he awarded the Prince Dhruva with a beautiful planet called Dhruva planet. And this Dhruva planet were above the 7 stars. And after achieving this success, Dhruva was very happy, and he saw the Lord face to face. He was very satisfied, and that all his needs were fulfilled. So, like this, Lord incarnates himself to satisfy a pure devotee of the Lord. Next is Prithu. So, while speaking about Prithu, Brahma explains that there was a Maharaj named Vena who went astray from the path of righteousness. And he wouldn't listen to any learned Brahmanas advising him on the administrating rules. He just wanted to ignore them. He wanted to just continue ruling the kingdom the way he wanted. The broad-minded Brahmanas wanted to save the subjects, so they advised Maharaj Vena as to why he's not supposed to behave like this. Why is he disobeying the rules? And so, seeing the disobedience of Maharaj Vena, the Brahmanas actually outrightly cursed the Maharaj, and the whatever the Maharaj Vena was supposed to get out of his righteous rule, he actually lost uh, by his disobedience. Say, for example, his long life, his prospects to go to heavenly planets was lost, his good reputation was lost, and the blessings of great personalities were also vanquished simply by disobedience to a great soul. So, we should understand from these pastimes that if one is self-realized and if some great souls are actually explaining us something, it should not be taken very lightly, and it should be taken very seriously, because uh, all those good deeds that we had done in the past could be swept away just by one misconduct. So one can take this as a step or an example of how one should actually take um, advices or suggestions coming from a great soul. So during this time, not only it's just like, how Narada, even though he curses Manigriva and Alakuvera, he also uh, gives them blessings that after hundreds of years you will have mm, the you will have Krishna coming and delivering you. So similarly, these Brahmanas also first cursed Maharaj Vena, but they also prayed to the Lord for helping this Maharaj who has actually not obeyed their suggestions. So Lord, being pleased by the Brahmanas and wanted to save this irresponsible rule, or to re-establish the rules of administration, Lord descends himself and in the name of Prithu. So Maharaj Prithu, when he incarnates as the Lord, he cultivates different types of crops. And as a good son, what did he do? He also made sure that his dad does not, because of the curse of the Brahmanas, does not go to hell, and he actually protects his father from the hellish conditions which a putra is actually supposed to do. He is supposed to protect his parents and deliver them, which Maharaj Prithu does, who is again an incarnation of the Lord. Um, so the Brahmanas actually prayed to the Lord and welcomed this Prithu to actually re-establish the rules of administration back. Rishabhadeva, son of Sudevi and Nabi, he actually performed a materialistic yoga, and he actually renounced that which was practiced by the other sages. He gave up material affection, he had proper control of his senses, and he was situated in one's own self, and he was completely satisfied. And here Lord actually proves that even by practicing of materialistic yoga, to equibalance the mind, one can actually be completely satisfied. So that's an example. And next on our list is Hayagrava. Speaking about Hayagrava, the Lord says, the Lord appeared as Hayagrava incarnation in a sacrifice performed by Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma says that he was personified sacrifices, and the hue of his body, or the color of his body, was golden, and he was personified Vedas himself and the super soul of all the demigods. So when he breathed, all the sweet sound of the Vedic hymns came out of his nostrils. So Hayagrava had actually come to actually personify the Vedas. He was personified Vedas, and he was personified sacrifices as well. Now comes Matsya Avatar. So when did Matsya Avatar come? He comes at the end of Vaivashvata Manvantara to shelter all living entities. The Vedas came out of the Brahma's mouth when he was fearful of the water of annihilation, and the Lords enjoyed. The Vedas came out of the Brahma's mouth when he was fearful of water of annihilation, and the Lords enjoying those waters protected the Vedas. So here we see that we know of this Matsya avatar, right? So when they were at the end of the Vaishvata Manvantara avatar, so there was a fear that there will be annihilation with water. So basically, what did Matsya avatar do? He came and he warned the king to actually keep um, a species in I mean a male and a female in every living entity on the earth. It could be an animal, or it could be a human being, or it could be a bird, or it could be an insect, or it could be various type of herbs, medicinal herbs, or it could be big trees. He said, make sure that you save a species in every living entity, and also protect the Vedas, and you come on board. I, as Matsya Avatar, will take you and protect you, and I'll drive you to a safe place. And that's what the Lord did. So he did protect all the species along with the king, and he saved the Vedas that which came out of Brahma's mouth. Next on our list is Kurma Avatar. What did Kurma Avatar do? He formed a resting place for the Mandara mountain. So what the demigods and the demons were doing is they kept a churning rod on the back of Kurma Avatar, and they were trying to extract nectar from the ocean of milk. So during this process, they were like tilting the during this. Actually, it was a fight between the demons and demigods. So they were actually pushing the Mandara mountain up and down and up and down. But for the Kurma avatar, who was in half sleep state, it was feeling as though it was some itching sensation on its back. So the Lord even took the form of carrying the Mandara mountain and allowed the demigods and demigods to have their pastime on him. And next on the list is Deva. So we know of Dev's pastime, and we know of him, Dev, killing Hiranyakashipu. Why did he do that? So basically, Hiranyakashipu was a demon. He had a son, very pious son, and his name was Prahlad. So Prahlad grew in a very pious way. Even though his father was very demonic, you could see that he got good instructions from Narada, and he actually followed it to heart. And basically, Hiranyakashipu was very confident, and he was like, nobody can ever kill him. I have got blessings from Brahma himself that I cannot be killed by a human being or an animal. I cannot be killed in the morning or night. And he was like, I cannot be killed by any weapon. So he was very sure that he could have a long life. But um, because of the prayers of his son Prahlad Maharaj, and because of the prayers of demigods, the Lord appeared as half lion, half man, as a Narasinghadev, and he didn't have any weapons, but instead he had long nails to kill this demon. And also he made sure that it was not day and not night, but it was during the dusk that he actually killed this demon Hiranyakashipu, who was actually not taking care of the demigods or of his son. And he now basically now in this pastime he proved that the Lord can appear even from a pillar if the devotee, or if his pure devotee calls out of love and calls out of faith. And that is the importance of Narsingadev. And yeah, when then Brahma goes on to speak about Gajendra. We know that Gajendra was the leader of elephants, and this leader of elephant once got stuck in a river. Like his leg got stuck because it was actually attacked by a strong crocodile um, in the river, and basically with superior strength. So Gajendra, knowing the prayers from his previous life, he actually offered a lotus flower to the Lord, and he prayed for the Lord to actually protect him. He was so much in pain, but he still offered his prayers to the Lord, and the Lord was very pleased by Gajendra calling out during distress, and he comes in the form of Lord Hari to protect this elephant. And the Lord's holy name here is also called Shravana Mangala, which means that one receives everything auspicious simply by hearing the holy name. So it is important to understand how important the Lord's holy name is, Shravana Mangala. Then moving on to Vamanadeva. When Lord explains about how Bali Maharaj was very strong and very powerful, he had invaded a lot of planets, and he was in a very charitable position. Even though he had acquired all the planets, of course he had a lot of wealth, of course he had a lot of power. The Lord appeared to him in the form of a beggar, and he asked for charity. Bali Maharaj being himself, he said, I'm happy to give you whatever you ask, so what do you want? But Shukracharya, his um, spiritual master, objected this because he knew that this beggar Brahmana was Vishnu himself. So Bali Maharaj also knew that he is Vishnu, but he was happy to offer whatever he had got to Lord Vishnu. So, not listening to his spiritual master's order, also, Bali Maharaj actually agreed. And what did Vamanadev ask? He asks for 3 steps only. But and Bali Maharaj also accepted to uh, give him in charity. So in 2 steps, the Lord covered the entire universe. And Lord asked, so where should I keep my next step? Bali Maharaj offered himself with happiness that Lord is going to keep his foot on his head, and he bowed down. And Lord, pleased with his submission, actually instead of taking over all his wealth, he actually blessed Bali Maharaj that Lord would become his constant companion and doorman. And Lord offered himself to Bali Maharaj, and that's a very nice pastime, isn't it? So again, when explaining to Narada, Brahma explains, hey Narada, you got to learn the knowledge of bhakti, or the knowledge or the science of self-realization process through an incarnation by name Hamsavatara. So basically, Brahma is saying to Narada, you had learnt the transcendental loving service from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, who had incarnated as Hamsavatara. And he was very much pleased with Narada, and hence he had actually imparted this knowledge of um, devotional service to Narada. Next on our list is Manvantara Avatara. Manvantara Avatara comes as a descent in the Manu dynasty, and what does he do? His glory of the Lord is spread. He made sure, Manvantara made sure that the glory of the Lord was spread all over the three lokas. And the next on our next incarnation is Dhanvantari Avatara. He incarnated to cure the living entities' diseases simply by his fame and cause of long life. And Dhanvantari was a cause of long life for the demigods, and he was the one who established the science of Ayurveda in the universe. And Parashurama, we know sage Parashurama was an avatar of Krishna, and he actually so he understood that the ruling administrators, who were known as the Kshatriyas, didn't take the path of absolute truth. So he found out that they were desiring a hellish path. So the Lord incarnated in the form of sage Parshuram. He uprooted these unwanted kings, and he actually slayed them with his sharpened chopper 21 times. So he is also an incarnation of the Lord who came to establish the path of absolute truth. We know about Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra was very truthful to his father. He would listen. He had listened to his father, and based on his instructions, he went to the forest. He is son of Dashrath Maharaj, as you know. He is from the Ishwaku dynasty, and he was deeply aggrieved when Sita Devi was taken over by Ravana. So he killed Ravana, and he curbed the pride of Ravana himself. So it is a very so Ramchandra tried to re-establish the righteousness, or he brought back the respect for Lord Sita, and he slayed the demon Ravana. Next is about Krishna. What we know of Krishna is that he had Krishna, the Lord, appeared with his descended with his beautiful hair, and to diminish the burden of the earth with his plenary portion Balarama. And when Krishna was here, he performed superhuman activities like that of killing the demon Putana. He would actually kill demons like Agasura. He would actually overturn the cart and uproot the Arjuna trees. And when Mother Yashoda was trying to tie the kid Damodar with the rope, and it always fell 2 fingers too short. So like this, Krishna performed so many pastimes when he was here, which was superhuman. And when he was 7 years old, he would even lift the Govardhan hill, and he had killed so many demons in Vrindavana and outside as well. And basically he would have killed it either directly by himself, or he would have allowed his plenary portion Balaram or his friend Arjuna to kill them and send them to his personal abode. And speaking about Vyasadeva, next Brahma explains that the Lord considered his own compilations of the Vedas to be difficult for less intelligent people, so he divided the Vedas into different branches for the Kali Yuga people, it seems. Again, Buddha comes to bewilder the mind of the atheists, and he actually preached the sub-religious principles when the atheists were well versed in the Vedas and who destroyed the planets. And Kalki avatar, at the end of Kalki, there was at the end of Kali Yuga, where there was no Harikatha spoken, when the Brahmanas would be heretical, and when the kings would behave like Shudras, and when there will be no sacrifices happening, then the Lord will be a supreme chastiser, is what is mentioned. So from all these incarnations, what we see is that these incarnations are specified in the literatures themselves. It is not that all of a sudden somebody actually comes and says, no, I mean, I'm an incarnation, I'm incarnation of the Lord. It doesn't have to, it cannot be like that, because if some incarnation is coming, all these names of the avatars along with their parents' names are actually specified in the literatures, and one can be assured that the Lord just doesn't come by himself, but it's all in the various scriptures, and it will be mentioned by the sadhus as well. And next, we have spoken about the guna avatars. Guna avatars are avatars who in the modes of passion, goodness, and ignorance. So basically, Brahma takes care of the creation aspect, Lord Vishnu takes care of the maintenance aspect, and Lord Shiva takes care of the annihilation aspect. And we'll quickly go through the conversations where Narad Muni establishes that Lord cannot be easily understood except by his mercy. So Lord Brahma says, one cannot describe the Lord's greatness, even if one is able to understand the Lord, even if one is able to count the atomic particles in the world, but it is still not possible to understand the greatness of the Lord. Even Anantashesha, who had thousands of mouths, could not actually mention all the glories of the Lord, and there is no limit for his glories, and that's why. And only surrendered souls who can know of the Lord, uh, and that too, it's only by the Lord's mercy, those surrendered souls also can understand the Lord. And even lower persons can know of, and who, I mean, surrendered, so how do who know of the Lord are very limited, and the examples are Brahma, Narada, Shiva, Swayambhu Manu, Bhishma, Uddhava, Ambarish Maharaj, Prahlada Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Vidura, Arjuna, and they were successful in attracting the Lord and getting his blessings to understand who the Lord is. So even lower persons can know the Lord by a devotee's mercy, and that is why for people in Kali Yuga, it is best to satisfy the devotees of the Lord rather than the Lord directly, because it is not possible to please the Lord directly. Whereas if a devotee of the Lord is pleased, if a spiritual master is pleased, then it means then the Lord is pleased. So we have to take the shortcut or whatever path which we can follow. So then further, Brahma goes on to explain who's, the various aspects of the Lord, or the Brahman aspect, the Paramatma aspect, and the Bhagavan aspect. The qualities of Paramatma aspect is discussed as that he is eternally peaceful, Shashvat Prashantam, and he is fearless, Abhayam, and pure Shuddham, bestows knowledge, Pratibodha Matram, and he is equal to all, he is Samam. And what are the qualities of Brahman aspect? He is full of unlimited happiness and free from grief and indescribable by words. And it is formless aspect of the Bhagavan aspect. Whereas the Bhagavan is with form, and even Maya would actually feel ashamed to stand in front of the Lord, because his beauty or his Swarupa is inexpressible by words. So the above qualities of Brahman are even more abundantly seen in Bhagavan aspect. the jnanis and yogis would give up their paths if they come to know of the path of uh, devotional service. And Bhagavan is the ultimate benefactor. So basically, it is not the Paramatma or the Brahman, which is the ultimate phase. It is basically the Bhagavan, which is the ultimate phase. So quickly, the next few verses, Brahma explains how this knowledge has to be disseminated. So Brahma says to Narada, so far I have explained about the qualities of the Lord and about his incarnations. Now it's time to disseminate this knowledge. We have to distribute the Srimad Bhagavatam to the world, which is a collection of Lord's vibhutis, which is actually mentioned by the Lord himself. And hence we have to take it seriously to distribute to the knowledge so as to give rise to the bhakti in all the living entities across all of the world. So the importance of understanding the creation pastimes is that by understanding the Maya, or by repeatedly hearing about the Maya, one can actually overcome the Maya with ease. And that is what we can actually see. So basically, if we try to apply in hearing the Lord's pastimes or incarnations, and if we try to disseminate this knowledge to the far and wide people, then we can please our spiritual masters, we can please the Lord, and we can also understand who the Lord is by again and again hearing on his pastimes and hearing about the incarnations of the Lord and glorifying him through his pastimes. So thank you everybody, and there we come to an end for chapter 7, Canto 2. Hare Krishna.